This video is to determine the width of road. If you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. So I'm going to take measurement from the fence, from one fence to the other fence along the road. The reason for making use of the fence is the boundary of the plot. So at this very side there is a fence. That fence is the boundary of that very plot, also the boundary of the other plot. The space between is the road. Divide the width of the road by 2 to get the midpoint of the road. You always have to make use of your measuring tape when you are taking your measurements, because you cannot be able to get the size of your road with the use of your eye. But if you know the standard measurements for that very type of road, you can be able to tell with your eye for some places. But I always advise to make use of your measuring tape, because sometimes the community might reduce the size of the road. They might not follow the standard measurements of the road. So that's why it's always advisable to make use of your measuring tape to be able to get the exact width size of any road. I'll be showing you each of the fence with the use of white line measurement, so that you see the fence I'm talking about here, which I'll be able to explain. So these are the fence. In this very stance, there is indication of the boundary with the use of the fence that is already existing. So there are cases that there will be no boundary indication. You will not see any fence, you will not see any beacon number, you don't see any beacon around. So you can still be able to take your measurements for your survey. So it's very important for you to understand these things. For this very case, there is presence of fence along one boundary, then the other one there is a fence but it's not fully fenced. So you can still be able to take your measurements as long as there is boundary indication. So that's where the boundary indication is. You can see it close to where the pole is. That's where it is there. Then we are going to take our measurements from along the fence, from the fence to that very boundary. So after taking our measurements, we'll know the width size of the road. It's still the same method that we used initially in taking the measurements. You make use of a measuring tape, then from your boundary to the other boundary, from one boundary along the line to the other boundary, you take your measurement to know the size of the road. So all I have to do is to measure using the same method with the use of measuring tape to get the exact width size of the road. In a situation whereby there is no beacon around and you have to take your measurement and know the size of the road, so there is a way that is done. So I have to explain that later. So this is also another boundary there, which I've shown with white line. So that's where the boundary is. You can see this very fence there. So I zoomed it, but it's not fully fenced. Then this one is also a fence and is fenced properly. So from that point to the other point, you take your measurements to be able to know the size of the road. That will determine, so with those, the boundary of the two edges determine the offset distance, the width, the space between will determine the measurement of the road. So I'll take measurement from there, then to this point I'll measure out and get the width of the road. So I'm going to go ahead and explain the method in which process whereby there is no boundary indication, there is no beacon block, there is no fence, there is nothing, there is no community beacon for you to be able to know the boundary of the plot line so that you can be able to determine the size of the road. So this very method I'm going to be explaining is for situation whereby there is nothing, no boundary indication, and you have to get the measurement of the road so that you can be able to go ahead with your survey. So this very method, now what you have to do is to first of all, you have to make use of the road. The road sometimes might not be cleared and there will be bushes on it, and sometimes it's not always that over bushy. Then what you have to do is to stand on the road and get the midpoint, the center of the road. Is that center of the where you look at and see to be able to know the center of the road. You just look forward, stand on the road, then look forward and be able to determine where the middle is. You understand? So when you can be able to get the center from there, then from there you can accept the size of, you divide the standard size for that very type of road. Let's say for example is a lane or is a street. So you have 30 feet measurements. Then from that center that I've gotten, you divide by 2. When you divide by 2, you have 15 feet. Then from that, the center that you have gotten, you measure out 15 feet. Then from your 15 feet, then you can take the measurement of the size of the plot that you want to measure. So from that 15 feet is where your boundary line is for your own plot. Most of the time, most communities, they normally do measure out their road, then use a bulldozer to bulldoze the size of the road with community beacons. The situation whereby the road that they have bulldozed has already been covered with grass, most of the time you can still be able to get the midpoint. You just have to stand on the road, then look at the pattern of the movement of the pattern of the space that is available and the behavior of the road that you are seeing based on where grass has already grown on it and all that. You can be able to get the midpoint from there by proper observation, looking at it, and be able to tell where the midpoint is. Then from there you take your half of the measurement of the size of the road that is intended for that road size for the community. But most times if it's a lane, is 30 feet. Then there are roads that are as wide as 50 feet. There are roads that are as wide as 100 feet. So it depends on the standard road measurement in that very space, and the way the road is linked to other roads. If it's a major roads are always wider. So since this one is just a lane or a street that is not that long, so it's not that wide, at least 30 feet is okay. So you know the size that is available for that very space. From there you divide by 2. From that your midpoint that you have gotten, you take your measurement at, then from there you can be able to get your measurement. That's from that very half of the measurement of the road that you have gotten, that's where your boundary will start. From there take your measurements. The next step is to be able to determine the width of road when there is community beacon. So in a situation whereby there is community beacon, the beacon will be able to tell you exactly where the boundary is. From that boundary line, beacon block, community beacon block, you can be able to take your measurement from one community beacon block to the other, knowing fully where the road is. So from the measurement you can be able to tell where the road is. You have to take your measurement to be able to know where the road is. That's you take your measurement from community beacon block to the other. Let's say for example there is a community beacon block at this very point, and there is a community beacon block at the other point. So from there you can be able to take your measurement from that end to the other end of the community beacon block. Then you're able to know what the size of the width size of your road. So there are situations whereby, let's say along this very line there is another road. So from there you can be able to take your measurement and know the exact size of the road, and as well the community beacon block will actually tell you the plot line. So it's from the plot line, then you can be able to determine the width of the road. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If you know that you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button so that you always be notified whenever we upload a new video. See you in another video. Bye.